Good morning. My name is Jessica Cooper, and I am the Program Manager over the statewide CalFresh Outreach program at the California Department of Social Services. I would like to welcome you all to the Introduction to CalFresh Outreach webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to provide a general overview of the CalFresh Outreach program and landscape. CDSS will be collaborating with the California Association of Food Banks on a variety of webinars and trainings to better prepare you all to provide CalFresh outreach and application assistance to the clients that you serve. With that, I would like to now hand it over to Edith Martinez of the California Association of Food Banks, who is going to take a deeper dive into the CalFresh outreach program landscape and welcome you all into our network.
Hi, welcome to the CalFresh Outreach Network. My name is Edith and I work at the California Association of Food Banks, and I'll be hosting our webinar today. This is the first webinar of a three-part series of trainings. These trainings are intended for organizations that are partnering with the California Department of Aging, the Department of Rehabilitation, and the Department of Developmental Services on the CalFresh expansion to SSI recipients. The next training is a webinar on the basics of CalFresh eligibility, and the final training will take place in person with a focus on putting into practice the eligibility rules. As Jessica mentioned, the California Association of Food Banks is conducting this series of trainings on behalf of the California Department of Social Services. In 2003, the California Association of Food Banks became the first nonprofit to administer the state's CalFresh outreach funds. So this means that we have a CalFresh outreach contract with the state, and we then pass the funds to over 50 partners throughout California that directly help clients with CalFresh information and application. All this to say that you're not alone. Our colleagues throughout the state are doing the same thing that you will be doing, and you'll find that the CalFresh Outreach Network is a friendly and collaborative space. We hope that you'll get engaged, that you'll reach out to others, and that you'll work together in increasing CalFresh participation in your community. Today we'll start with the basics. We'll start with what is CalFresh and the program structure, and then we'll move on to funding and how the contract is set up and the different stakeholders that you might encounter. We'll dive a little bit into county structure and end with an overview of the CalFresh application process, training resources, and outreach strategies. So let's get started. CalFresh is a program that provides money to buy groceries and can be used at traditional places where people grocery shop, like grocery stores and farmers markets. The benefits are issued on an EBT card, and it's used exactly like a debit card. The minimum benefit is $15, and the actual amount that a household receives is based on a few different factors, such as household size, income, and expenses. The benefits roll over, so they don't have to be all used in the same month in which they are received. Let's talk a little bit about why CalFresh is important. CalFresh is really our strongest defense against hunger, and it can be used along with other food resources like WIC, school meals, and food banks. CalFresh helps households to be able to purchase healthy foods like produce, and some farmers markets even have programs that match the amount of CalFresh dollars spent with additional free groceries. So not only does CalFresh help households buy food, but it's also a link to other savings. Once a household has an EBT card, they can also get discounts on things like utilities, gas, electricity, internet, and phone. And there are other savings that are available to households with an EBT card, like an Amazon Prime discounts and free or reduced entrance into museums. CalFresh also benefits our local economy and communities on a larger scale. Because CalFresh benefits are funded by the federal government, CalFresh brings in extra federal dollars to our local community. These dollars benefit farmers and small businesses and help create jobs and better opportunities for everyone. Studies have shown that every dollar in CalFresh benefits generates another $1.79 in the community. However, unfortunately, not everyone who is eligible participates. This is why CalFresh outreach is needed. California's participation rate is among the worst in the nation. If California could raise its participation rate to 100%, we would receive an additional $1.8 billion in federal funds, and this would generate about $3.5 $3 billion in economic activity. There are a lot of reasons why people don't apply, but this is why you and everyone else that's helping provide CalFresh information is really important. Together, we can help clients get information and navigate through the application process and begin to close the participation gap. This is a chart that covers the CalFresh program structure. As we mentioned, CalFresh is federally funded, and at the federal level, it's called SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The program falls under the U.S. Department of Agriculture, known as the USDA, specifically under FNS for Food and Nutrition Services, and you sometimes might hear reference to the rules known as the CFR. The state provides guidance and oversight, so specifically the California Department of Social Services, and as we mentioned, we call the program CalFresh in California, and benefits are issued on an EBT card. The rules are written on what the state calls the Manual of Policy and Procedures, the MPP, and the California Department of Social Services sends out all county letters and all county information notices to counties to inform them of changes, updates, and clarification on policy. So for example, when the SSI expansion happened, the California Department of Social Services sent these types of notices to the counties to let them know that the policy had changed. Now, even though it's a federally funded program and the state is providing oversight and guidance, the program is administered and implemented at the county level. So clients receive CalFresh from their local social services department called the County Welfare Department, CWD. And all offices throughout the state have different names depending on your county. Next, let's talk a little bit about how counties are structured and operate. This matters especially when things are not going so well, so that you know all the different doors that you can knock on. Your individual county-specific structure may vary, but the basics are essentially these. At the very top, you have your County Board of Supervisors. This board sets the priorities for your county, and they oversee different county departments and programs. So this can include things like approving their budget, supervising employees, controlling county property, and importantly, appropriating money to these programs to meet the needs of residents. Then there's the county executive. The exact title for your county may vary. It might be known as the Administrative Services Director, or the Executive Officer, or the Chief Administrative Officer. But the main point is that this person is your county's top staff member. And this person is responsible for the day-to-day functions of the county. And their role may also include preparing the annual budget for the Board of Supervisors. So then there's your actual social services agency. And the social services agency is essentially the county office that administers CalFresh, but they may also administer other programs, so things like cash aid, Medi-Cal, employment and training, and other adult or family and children services. Your social services agency is then going to have a director who may be appointed by your county executive or your board of supervisors. Directly under him is going to be someone called the CalFresh specialist, and this person is responsible for staying on top of CalFresh policy changes and interpreting the rules and guidance issued by the California Department of Social Services. So this would be a great person to get to know in your county. There's also different other county staff, things like eligibility workers, eligibility managers, case managers, etc. So again, your individual county structure may vary slightly, but overall this is kind of the basics in all counties. Now that we've covered the county structure, I'm going to hand it over to Jessica for a look as to how all this information relates to our CalFresh Outreach contract.
The CalFresh Outreach Program is a public and private partnership between the State of California's Department of Social Services and private or nonprofit organizations. Our statewide partners, also referred to as our prime contractors, and their community-based organizations or subcontractors contribute to their communities through CalFresh in various ways, including general outreach, application assistance, and partnerships. For all the outreach efforts included in the CalFresh Outreach Plan, the United States Department of Food and Agriculture, or USDA, has a standard for what they consider allowable activities and allowable administrative costs that are deemed reasonable and necessary. These activities are found in our SNAP outreach guidance as prescribed by the USDA. CDSS provides statewide administrative and pragmatic oversight in support of the CalFresh Outreach Program and its prime contracting networks, as they in turn provide oversight and support to their subcontracting networks in their efforts to support CalFresh initiatives at the local level. At the state level, we also administer the USDA-approved CalFresh Outreach State Plan, maintain and manage the CalFresh information line, develop and enhance creative materials for outreach messaging and application assistance, provide training, and develop and implement other program enhancements where appropriate. The CDSS CalFresh Outreach team provides administrative and pragmatic oversight over statewide outreach services for potentially CalFresh eligible Californians. The development and implementation of strategies or projects for program access, and the development and implementation of directives or projects to improve the CalFresh participation rate. I do hope this has given a brief background and overview of CDSS CalFresh Outreach and our role in the overall CalFresh world, and how our organizations collaborate.
Thank you, Jessica. Now, this is another way that we can look at all the different stakeholders. We can start with the client first and move outwards to all the different organizations that impact the CalFresh Outreach program. The stakeholders that are closest to the clients are going to be at the county level. These are going to be the different community-based organizations with outreach workers and people like you helping clients with the application and providing CalFresh information. Some community-based organizations also provide follow-up assistance to clients to help them complete reports and recertification to help maintain their CalFresh benefits. Then there's the county office, and this is going to be where you submit the applications that you exist. The county office will then process the CalFresh application, determine eligibility, and issue benefits. Some county offices assign a specific eligibility worker to each client, and others have groups of workers that are all able to help a client at any given moment. Then there's the legal aid community. They provide free services to clients and outreach workers to help work with the county to submit an appeal or to go to a hearing. This might be something that your client wants to do if they disagree with an action that the county has taken. The legal offices go by different names in different counties or even regions. So for example, in the Bay Area, we have the Bay Area Legal Aid, and they cover the 7 Bay Area counties. Though the specific name of your legal aid might vary, the basis is that they all help clients troubleshoot cases and submit an appeal when they disagree with an action that the county has taken. At the statewide level, we've talked about the California Department of Social Services, who issues program guidance around eligibility for what counties should do. And they also administer funding to counties as well as various contractors, including other state departments and other nonprofits for outreach and application assistance on CalFresh. These departments and different agencies also then fund and support community-based organizations like yours to help clients with the CalFresh application and process. At the statewide level, there are also advocates that help ensure that the CalFresh program is accessible and equitable to everyone by working with the state and other stakeholders. So some of the statewide advocate names that you might hear are like the Alliance to Transform CalFresh, which includes various organizations that may also work on policy, such as the Western Center on Law and Poverty and California Food Policy Advocates. You may also hear about Code for America, who is also a contractor of the California Department of Social Services, but also operates the getcalfresh.org website, which you might be using to help your clients. I also want to mention the 3 California consortiums. These can be thought of as the computer software programs that the county office is using to determine eligibility, calculate benefits, and store case notes and information. This software is used for other programs aside from CalFresh, like Medi-Cal, CalWorks, etc. Collectively, they are called SAWS, which stands for the Statewide Automated Welfare System, SAWS. And the 3 systems that are used in the state are CalWIN, C4, which is now called CalAces North, LRS, which is now called CalAces South. Many of you may be using Get CalFresh as the online application for CalFresh, but it's important to know that these exist and specifically to be aware of which system your county is using. Get CalFresh allows you to submit an application, but it ultimately feeds the online information into your corresponding county consortia. This is also an area where our partners work together. So for example, if your county is telling you that something cannot be done because of the system they are using, you may want to reach out to another partner that is also using the same system to learn about their experience getting around this particular issue. Or you can also work with other partners to bring upon change at the consortium level. Moving further out at the federal stakeholder level, the partners that you're going to likely hear about might be the USDA, with it being the main funding and policy source specifically for the CalFresh program, and other partners that are working to improve access to food such as FRAC, the Food Research and Action Center, and the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. So now that we understand the program and the different stakeholders, we can further zoom into the client experience in the application process. Knowing the process is important when setting up your outreach program so you know which elements to account for. So before the client is ready to submit an application, they may want to get more information and may have questions about what the process looks like. This is where CalFresh Outreach is really crucial in helping clients get the information they need, answering their questions, providing pre-screening, and explaining what to expect throughout the process. Clients have a couple of options as to how to submit an application. They can submit the application online, by paper, or even in some counties by phone. After the application is submitted, the next step is to have an interview with an eligibility worker. The eligibility worker will basically go through the application and make sure they have all the information needed to determine eligibility. The client can request to have an interview in person at the county office or by phone. During the interview, the eligibility worker will also let the client know if they need to submit any verification. Verifications are usually things that provide proof of their income and expenses, so it might include things like pay stubs, rent or mortgage receipts, or medical expense receipts. Clients generally have 10 days to submit verifications. After the interview and verifications have been submitted, the client will receive a notice of approval or denial. If they are denied, the client has the option to appeal the decision by using the back of that notice to submit an appeal. If they are approved, they will receive an EBT card in the mail, but they can also request to pick up their EBT card in person at their nearest county office. Once they get the card, they can use it to purchase food at most traditional vendors, including grocery stores and farmers markets. And sometimes farmers markets have promotions like the Market Match to help clients get more produce for less. Usually, benefits can't be used to buy prepared food, but in some counties, people who are 60 years or older or disabled or homeless can use their benefits to buy prepared foods through the Restaurant Meals Program. It's often abbreviated RMP. So this might mean that they can buy food that is ready to eat. For example, things like buying a rotisserie chicken at the grocery store or buying a sandwich from Subway. But again, this option is only available in some counties, so ask your county if they participate. So once a client has gotten through the application process, has their EBT card, and has been shopping, in order to keep their benefits, then there'll be reports and recertification that needs to happen. And so there's a form called the STAR 7, which stands for the Semi-Annual Report, and this is a report that the county may require every 6 months. And then recertification is usually done annually, or in some cases, when people are 60 years or older or disabled, it's done once every 3 years. And so recertification is when the county determines if the client is still eligible for CalFresh and renews their benefits. So now that we have an overview of the process, the application process, and from start to end, we can transition over into what this means in setting up a successful outreach program. So generally, outreach programs have some basic similar components. This might include reaching consumers by providing their community with information and education during health fairs, or providing brochures, or during using social media in different ways. It also includes pre-screening households to see if they might be eligible, and we have various tools such as that are on paper, online, and on Excel. And then there's the actual application assistance, which includes helping the client complete the application. And again, this can be done online, by paper, or even perhaps by phone. And then there's that application follow-up and kind of troubleshooting. So clients might have trouble completing different parts of the application process, such as they might miss their interview or not be able to provide a specific verification. And this is where outreach workers can help throughout the way by providing perhaps the rescheduling phone number, or providing assistance in attaining verification, or brainstorming through what other sources of verification might be options. Then there's also reporting assistance. And so again, this is really important to help clients stay on benefits, to making sure that they submit a report and that they're notifying the county of different changes, such as a change in address, or even helping them renew their benefits. And then lastly, you want to make sure that you're keeping your own internal assessment of your program. So this might include keeping your own performance metrics and goals, and even capturing the impact that your program is having on your community. If you're collecting client stories, just be aware that you are required to have a release of information to make sure that the client is okay with you sharing their information. And of course, you always want to protect their information by not sharing any kind of personal identifiable information, such as their name or date of birth or job location or things like that. And that might also, part of your internal program assessment might also include evaluating your outreach sites, evaluating the strategies that you're using to reach clients, and the outcomes of your assisted applications as well. So are your outreach sites successful? Are you reaching the people who are eligible? And are your applications actually being approved? What is your success rate in helping clients through the application process? These are all really important for you to know in order to adjust your program as needed to set up for success. You also likely have contract reporting and invoicing responsibilities. So these might include reporting on activities and application numbers, and your invoice might vary depending on your individual contact. So make sure to check with your contract person. So let's talk a little bit about outreach strategies. We know that some people may not be going out to find clients, but instead informing clients that are already known to them or who come to them, and that's perfectly fine. But there's also a wide range of other strategies that are used, so just make sure to pick whatever works for you and your community and adapt as you go through. In general, some strategies that are used by partners might be by target population, so this might mean specifically targeting seniors, or previous foster care adults, or perhaps targeting healthcare providers or people who are without a home. Other outreach partners might use strategies that are based on location, so having CalFresh Outreach at a lot of different WIC sites, or food distribution sites, or even low-income housing sites. And then lastly, another model that we see might be the indirect outreach model. And this includes having partners with different community-based organizations that might send you referrals for people who need application assistance. There are a lot of different training resources to help support you along the way. Again, this webinar is the first of 3 other trainings that are available for new partners. And up next, we have an eligibility webinar that will go into the rules of eligibility for CalFresh, and then we'll also have a chance to practice applying the CalFresh rules in person at the in-person training. But if you also want to get a head start on additional training, that we have a few other recommended training resources. possible that you may have already received training from a community partners. There are some community partners that provide regular eligibility trainings in their community, but you can also reach out to your local county office. It's a good idea to reach out and to help begin building that relationship, to learn about how your county office operates and how they process the CalFresh applications. You can also ask if you can shadow an eligibility worker and if you can tour their facilities. In general, the more you know about how the applications are processed, the better you'll be able to help your community. The other resource we have is the CalFresh Guide, which is a website by the Legal Services of Northern California. It goes into the eligibility rules in depth and is searchable. And so on any browser, you just put CalFresh.guide and it'll take you automatically to that website. Another couple of websites is the California Department of Social Services has the CalFresh website, which has a few webinar series, which is also a really good place to find more information and some frequently asked questions. And then there's also a series of policy webinars that pertain specifically to the rules for people who are over 60 or disabled or on SSI on their SSI resources page. In general, eligibility is really complex, but you don't need to know everything, but just rather know where to find the information and know that there's several training sources and people here to support you. Thank you for joining us for an overview of the CalFresh landscape. We hope this presentation was useful for you, and we leave you with a few suggested next steps. You can learn more about the impact of CalFresh in your county at Code for America's Story site. You can also review the things that you can buy with CalFresh and what other programs and savings are available to CalFresh recipients. A few other suggested next steps are to begin to familiarize yourself with the online application by going through a sample online. You can try going through it several times and changing your responses to see how that changes the questions that are being asked. You can also sign up for a getcalfresh.org account to be ready to help clients with the application. You can find out which consortium your county is a part of also online, and you can contact your local county office to begin to foster that relationship and understand your county's business processes. And lastly, you can also check out the CalFresh Glossary of Terms. We leave you with a quote from the field by Amy Dearlam at River City Food Bank. It takes time to learn how to pre-screen and work with county workers. Be patient in learning. Filling out the application is easy, but how to talk with clients and help them through the process takes diligence and experience. Listen and learn about their situation to know how best to help. Each household is unique.